Greetings, BUSN-1360 Software Apps for Business students. Welcome, I'm Dr. McGrory. Today is PowerPoint Chapter 2, and it's adding content to slides. And this is what the presentation is all about, is that you have information that you need to convey to stakeholders, to team members, to your boss, whoever those people may be. And we have a lot of different types of content that we can add, and you're going to see it all in this chapter. So let's get started. Of course, I've already created my PowerPoint 2 folder on my desktop, but when I open it this time, I want you to notice that we have an extra file. And so you will be downloading not just your PowerPoint file, and of course I've downloaded the solution file, but there's also an additional file which is an MP3 or a music file. And I'm going to make this a little bigger so that you can see this. I want you to change your view. For example, if your view right now is large icons, that's really nice, but I want you to change the view of your folder to details. In this details view, you can look across and you can see the size of the file. And this is going to become very important with PowerPoint, and it's something you should know. Notice that this Adobe Acrobat file is a lot larger in size than these other files. Well, today as we add content to our slides, we're going to add pictures, we're going to add this audio file. And so the more you add into a PowerPoint file, the larger it becomes. And that means when you are trying to send these PowerPoint files around the internet, it can be a little difficult. You may be unable to email a PowerPoint file. You may have to be patient while you upload a PowerPoint file to our automatic grading system, to SimNet. If you are sharing this PowerPoint information with people that you work with, you may want to upload this file to OneDrive. That's a great place to share your work. So there are ways to do this, for example, other than email, but when you submit this file, and perhaps also in our next couple chapters in PowerPoint, be patient when you upload because it will take time. Well, let's look at this PDF of our PowerPoint so that we see what the solution should look like. Of course, we recognize this My Health Journey in 10 weeks, so looks pretty much the same there. I'm going to advance to the next slide. Remember how plain our PowerPoint presentation was after Chapter 1. We had some text there and we definitely learned a lot, but now it's about making it more exciting. We had this great picture here with some tomatoes and green beans. Of course, we have our information over here. This is slide number 3. Some great pictures here. Add a little pizzazz to our presentation. This is slide 4. It still kind of looks the same. Okay. This is the 2-column page, slide where we took our bullets and we made them 2 different columns. And now here we are on slide 6. There's another picture here. Adds a little to it. And here's a different approach. On slide 7, they're talking about goals, and oftentimes we say, I want to hit the target when it comes to our goals, so they've added a target there to try to reinforce that. Oh, look at this. Calories in and calories out. They've added a chart here to make it really obvious, to help us picture what does that look like in terms of the calories in and calories out. Here's our last slide, slide 9 of 9, and it says, I know I can do it, and they have a little smiley face. Now, here's an important part of these instructions today. As I've looked at this solution file, I've gone ahead and worked on this file a little bit. Normally I do this for the first time with you, but when I submitted this file, I received some errors, and I want to remind you that that's what that window of pass-fail is about. You have to achieve above a certain score. But because I worked ahead and did this, I actually kind of guessed and figured out what they needed to do. For example, in your instructions, they have us put this text in here, but they do not ask us to resize it. So 54 is the font size for that. When we get to that, we're going to go ahead and set that to 54. But it's nice to look at this solution file and to understand. I think I'm going to keep it open this time and just minimize it because it really is important to look at this as we're making certain decisions about what they want in our instructions. So we know the first step of our instructions, and I'm just going to resize this window. I'm going to open my PowerPoint slides. And of course, the second step, enable editing. As I look at my thumbnail view, right away you see that they have made it much larger this time. Remember that you can always resize this by putting your mouse over the dividing line. Sometimes if you start on the right and then move slowly towards the left, you'll get that double-sided arrow a little more easily. Once you have that configuration, press, drag, you can make big or small. It looks like they've got it maxed out to the largest possible size right now. But you can adjust that. Let's go to Chrome, which is our preferred browser, and I'm going to open up, this is already PowerPoint Chapter 2. So I downloaded my start file. Make sure you download this resource file. Save it in the same folder as you did your start file. And of course, I downloaded the solution file. This time, if it's easier, if you would like to use the file download wizard, feel free to do that. So our case this time is that we're modifying our My Health Journey presentation. We're adding some important content. What are the skills that we're going to use? Well, this time we're going to look at the outline view. We looked at several views of PowerPoint in Chapter 1. Remember, down in that status bar, we could see the slideshow view. We could see the slide sorter view. So just like Excel had page layout view and some special views down in that status bar, PowerPoint had some views in that area also. You know things like how to copy and paste. You know how to do bulleted list. We've even done a stock image before. I think in Word we did that, right? We're going to add alt text. Again, we did that before. So we're going to be applying some of the same skills you learned in the past, and we're just applying them to PowerPoint. And I'm going to walk you through it, so no problem. We're going to add an icon. We've actually done that before too. We're going to look at smart guides, and we looked at those. So a lot of this is repeat skills, except for we're doing it in PowerPoint. Now, one thing that's different, we're going to add that audio file into our PowerPoint presentation. That's really fun. There's a lot you can do with that. All right, they have an important note here for us. Download the resource file needed for the project from the resources link. If they download in a zipped folder, make sure you extract those. What does that mean to extract? Quite simply, it means you open that zipped folder, you select what's in that zipped folder, and you copy it from that folder to a regular folder on, for example, your desktop. That process is extracting. You can also right-click and you'll see an option to extract, but all it is just copying it from that zipped folder to another location. So, steps to complete this project: we have opened our skill review, we have enabled editing, so already we're on to step 3. It says, add text to a slide through the outline view. So we're going to change our view to outline view, and while we're in that view, we're going to add some text so that you can see how this works. So let me move these instructions out of the way, and when we're working with view, on our ribbon bar up here, we're going to change to the view because we're changing how we view our document. Over here on the side, these are the same buttons that you saw in the lower right corner. Normal view. This is outline view. Now that's not one that's down there. That's what we're going to look at. But here's that slide sorter. We can look at note pages and that reading view. So on this toolbar, on this ribbon, we have even more options. Now look at my thumbnails here when I click outline view. This, as the name implies, is an outline. In fact, PowerPoint works very well with Microsoft Word. If you wanted to type up an outline in Microsoft Word and get your thoughts together, this is especially helpful if you are working with a team on your PowerPoint presentation. Rather than worrying about the graphics and how the slide is going to look, start out with the content. Get your outline together. Then share that, email that around as a Word document, and when you're ready, you can import that, and you're going to study this, that you can pull this directly into PowerPoint, and it looks very much, like this. Well, look at slide 1. We can see that title, My Health Journey, and then we see in 10 weeks, which is kind of a subpoint. Now look at slide number 2. It doesn't have a title. If I were to click on that little bitty slide, see that picture of it? Well, now I can see that in the body. Well, I see the bullets. I don't see the title. And in fact, it says click to add title. But if I continue looking at these other slides, I can see that bold text where it already has a title. So, of course, this slide needs a title. I'll point out some other things. When I click on slide number 5, do you see all these blank spaces after vacation? I could clean this up a little bit by deleting those spaces, those extra lines after the word vacation. They didn't tell us to do that, and sometimes if you make changes and you are not instructed to do that, the automatic grader will kind of get on to us a little bit, but it would be just as easy as clicking down there and pressing my backspace key. Look at that. I had to press it about 4 times. So you can see now that that makes it a little easier to view. I'm going to Control Z until it goes back. And do you see my slide changing over here on the right? So I'm Control Z, okay, until I get to where it says you can't undo anymore. But you saw that as I was making those little cleanup changes over here, it was also making that change here on my slide. So these are one and the same. It's the same slide, it's just a different view of that slide. So let's come up here to slide number 2. Notice that it's changed over here. And in the outline view, do you see that my cursor is flashing next to slide number 2? And they want the title of this slide to be Eating. Oops, well, I have to spell it correctly. Eating Habits. So as I type it in the outline view, it's appearing on my slide in the title because I'm typing it as the first line on that slide. I hope that makes sense. Save that. I'm going to move these instructions back over. Well, we went to the View tab, we looked at that outline view, and we saw some of the really cool things that we could do. On to step 4. This time we're going to navigate to slide 4, and we're going to select the bullet. See, we can see it back here. Take a nap when possible. And then we're going to click the Home tab, and we can copy. Well, we don't need to do that. Can't we do Control C to copy? Then we're going to go to slide 6. We're going to place the cursor after the last bullet, no electronic times, and I can see that really clearly in my outline view. And we're going to press Enter, which is going to create a new line, and then we're going to paste. So Control V as in Victor, writer as in victory, Control V to paste. So let's do that. I'm going to move these instructions out of the way. Navigating to slide 4. Now, could you select this in the slide? There we go, absolutely. But I'm going to work in my outline view. I'm going to triple click on Take a Nap when possible. Isn't that how we select an entire paragraph? Well, that's when we hit the Enter key, that forms a paragraph, correct? So we learned that in Word. So I triple clicked, selected that paragraph, Control C to copy. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Hopefully you can see this down towards the bottom. I'm going to click at the end of no electronic times. I'm going to press the Enter key as I was instructed to do, and I'm going to paste Control V. Excellent. However, I see just a few problems. Do you see how I also inserted an extra blank line. I don't need that. I was not asked to do that. So I'm going to backspace until I'm back up on that first line. Another thing that I see is that the T in take and nap looks like there's a space before it. It's not aligned with no electronic times. So I'm just simply going to click and then backspace. I just want everything to be nice and tidy. Save that. Here's my instructions. Did we accomplish all these steps? I think so, but we didn't have to go to the Home tab because we know Control-C. We went here, we didn't have to go to the clipboard because we know Control-V, as in victory, for pasting. On to step number 5. Now we're going to navigate to slide 7, and we're going to select the numbered list in slide 7. We can see that back here in our outline view. And we're going to change that to bullets, and in particular, the arrow bullet. Well, let me move this out of the way. This, incidentally, may be a good time to just double check. This is our solution file, and this is slide number 7, and you can see those check marks. So that's what they're looking for. Let me navigate to slide 7. I just clicked right on the picture of the little square for the slide. And I can work in either the outline view, or if you are more comfortable selecting your slide for this, when you're working with just the text, either one is fine. I'm going to the Home tab. This is where I have my bullets, remember those, and this is a 2-part button, so I'm going to click the little arrow next to that button, and in my default listing here, I see those check marks. So I'm going to pick that. As I look at my slide, that looks right to me. Save that. That was step 5. We're using skills that you are already familiar with. Those skills transfer from Word to Excel and now to PowerPoint. On to step 6. Add a stock image to the slide. So we're going to do this on slide number 2, and we're going to add a picture. I can see it says go to images, picture of vegetables. And really what they're looking for is that picture of the tomatoes and the green beans. And then we're just going to insert it. So let me move this to the side. Let's go back to slide number 2. And I'm going to click actually on my slide to make that active. And in fact, I'm going to make this a little smaller so that I can focus more on my slide in this normal view. I'm going to click on Insert, and then they want us to go to Pictures and Stock Images. They tell us the best way to look for this is just to search by typing vegetables and press your Enter key. Oh, I didn't even have to press Enter. I see the picture that looks just like the picture in the solution file. So that's the one I'm going to pick. It's got a check mark. Click Insert. Wow, that's a big picture. I want to point out something with these pictures, with any pictures. When you take a picture with your phone, maybe you were in a market and you said these are the most beautiful colors, so you pulled out your cell phone and you took a picture. When you bought your phone, did the camera resolution play a part? Even if it didn't, you probably said, oh, this is like 1.2 megapixels or whatever we're up to now, these giant numbers. In fact, if you've ever tried to email a picture to someone, did your email software say, would you like me to reduce the size of this? Okay, pictures can be very large, and grabbing these little sizing handles or resizing it in some of the other ways that we're going to learn in just a moment do not change the number of bits and bytes that it takes. It does not change the pixels that are in the picture. As a consequence, it can make it very large. I encourage you, look into something like, you can use something as simple on a Windows computer. It comes with a software called Paint. And there's an option that says resize the image. In that case, They're not just talking about making it smaller. They're talking about dropping some pixels out of it. When it's smaller, you're not going to notice the difference, but you will notice that your file size is much more manageable. It won't take, 30 minutes to upload anymore because it'll reduce the resolution. So be aware of that with pictures. That's kind of an important thing. Okay, but we inserted the pictures, we accomplished step 6, and we learned. Well, we earned some points, didn't we? On to step 7. Add alt text to the picture. It says verify the image is still selected, and we're going to add alt text, and specifically we're going to add photograph of vegetables. Do you remember alt text from when we studied Word? Alt text is alternative text for someone who cannot see this picture. Now, why can't they see the picture? Of course, they could be blind or have a visual impairment, but what if you are on your cell phone and you're on the bus and you're just listening? Or you're driving and you're just listening. You're riding your bike and you're listening. I want to know what is that a picture of? So let's provide some alternative text for that. They tell us when we have this picture selected that we will see this ribbon. Remember how when we have objects, we tend to get a new ribbon. So if I don't have that selected, for example, if I select just the slide, that ribbon goes away. But if I select the picture, that ribbon comes back. Whoops, and I hovered over the picture style and it changed on me. Okay, with this picture selected, if we go across, we see the accessibility group. It has alt text right there in it. And I have a little note here that talks about this new accessibility ribbon because I've told PowerPoint I'm trying to do something to make this more accessible. Click on next. And again, it's giving us a little narration. Click on next. Oh goodness, and then got it. Took us on a little tour there, didn't it? I will point out this accessibility ribbon. I really like this. This is, I believe, somewhat new to 2024. They've been adding accessibility tools steadily. So as you look at this ribbon, I want you to see there are many things that you can use to ensure that you are compliant with accessibility rules. For example, there is an accessibility checker over here to the side. So look at, these different tools. Color. Is there enough contrast in those colors so that people can see? So think about that. But we are focused on adding the alt text. And here's another really cool feature, and Microsoft products, including Word, Excel, PowerPoint here, have been doing this for a little while, which is using AI to add or to generate that alt text in case you forget, right? And in fact, you even see there's a button down here that says generate alt text for me. Well, it says close-up of rows of produce and boxes, Roma tomatoes, string beans, jalapenos, and plums. I like that alt text, but it's not what the instructions call for. But I like that that is very descriptive. Alt text, it tells me exactly what's in that picture. But it's not part of our instructions, so we're selecting that alt text, and we're going to replace it with what they asked for, which is photograph of vegetables. Okay? Just again to review what is marked as decorative, you may have an image sometimes like a line that is just a fancy border going across, separating two pieces of text. That could be clearly decorative. So things like that don't really add to the content of your communication, of your document, of your slide. Well, let's save that. And we accomplish those steps. Again, we're learning while we're earning points. Now we're going to resize that image, and it says on the picture tab, resize that so that it's 5 inches in width. Well, a picture, is not necessarily the same height as it is width. So we have this selected up here on the top where it says picture format. Let's click that. And I'm looking across all the way over here to this size group, and I see width. I'm clicking in there. And I'm simply going to type 5 and press the Enter key on my keyboard. And you see that it resized that picture. Now, while I'm here, I don't need this Alt text box anymore, so I'm going to close that. And I'm going to save that. On to the next step, because look at this. This is step 8, and we just finished that. On to step 9. We're going to align the image. Where do we want to place that image? Well, with it selected, it says on the Picture tab, we're going to use this Arrange feature, and we're going to select Align Right, and then we're going to select Align Middle. Notice that that does not say Align Center. We've been learning that center tends to be horizontal. Middle tends to be vertical. So this will be a vertical alignment, and Align Right will be a horizontal alignment. Let me move this out of the way. So we still have the picture selected. We're on our picture ribbon. Look across, and in this Arrange group, you'll see Align. I'm going to click on that. And they're trying to give us some pictures of what exactly is aligning. And they're showing multiple blocks because I could have multiple pictures selected, and I may want to have them all aligned to the bottom of the page or to the top of the page. Also, this is really handy when you are trying to space pictures very, very, very equally. You can tell the computer to do it by distributing them horizontally or vertically. But notice right now, this Align to Slide is checked. So we're going to pick Align Right, and it means align to the slide. There it is. Now they want us to do that again, and this time align to middle. Again, middle of what? Middle of the slide. There we go. We are making steady progress. So this is step 9. We've completed that. Let me scroll up on to step 10. Now we're going to add an icon on slide 7. Well, let's just glance at the solution file real quickly. This was slide 7. This is an icon. It's not a picture. It is really basic line art. So that tends to be what icons look like. So now we know what we're trying to accomplish. Let's go back to these instructions. We're doing this on slide 7. We're going to search for an icon called target, and it does say note. Well, it says look for a target with an arrow with solid fill. It says the icons dialog box in your version of Microsoft PowerPoint may appear different due to Office 365 updates. Locate and select the icon that looks like that, and if you do not see the icon, insert an icon of your choice. So let me move this, and we're going to go to slide 7, and we're going to insert. And last time we did pictures, but this time they said go all the way over here to illustrations, then icons. And do you notice that this is the exact same dialog box as we came to with the pictures? We were just on a different tab inside this. So explore these. There's so many different types of media that you can add to your presentation. You don't want to do it just to make it loud and exciting. You want it to convey information. A target conveys information. So we're going to click in that search icons, and I'm going to type target. Well, as I look across, I see the one that looks like the solution file, so I'm going to select that and click Insert. There it is, and it put it right in the middle of our slide. So I'm going to make sure I select that so that I have that selected. Notice at the top my ribbon says Graphics Format. So I'm going to click on that, and I have a size box right next to that, and they want me to make this 3.5 by 3.5. So I'm clicking in that box, 3.5, enter, and it changed the width as well. I'll tell you why, and this is kind of a cool thing to know. We have a launcher associated with this size group. When I click that, there's a little box that comes over here on the side. Now, what I'm looking for is here where it says lock aspect ratio. What that means is whatever the proportions were. It doesn't mean keep it the same. It doesn't mean the height and width have to be the same. It means relative to what the height or the width was before. When I change one of those values, relatively make the same change so that I don't get something that looks really weird, right? Where my target is all oblong or something like that. So by having that, that's by default in this case was selected. So I wanted to show you that. I'm going to close that and I'm going to save that. And oh, we missed one step. I'm looking at the instructions and it says that we need to align middle. So I have this selected and I'm looking at the tools on my graphics format, and you notice things kind of shift around a little bit for different types of objects. So here's align and align middle because we changed its size so it didn't look quite the same. Okay, save that. Move these instructions. Did we do everything? We went to slide 7, we went to insert, we did the illustration, we got the target, we found the one that looks just like it, we clicked the insert button, we resized it to 3 by 5, both height or 3.5 wide and tall, and we clicked the align button again and selected align middle. Excellent. On to step 11. Apply a style to the icon. So again, we're going to be on that graphics format ribbon, and we're going to pick this color fill, dark one outline. It says it is the first option in the third row. So let me move this. And we have this selected, and we're on the graphics format ribbon. And here are my graphic styles. If I click on this drop-down box, it said, see, I see two that look very similar here. Let's see, make sure you get the correct one. Color fill, dark one outline. And it said it is the first option in the third row. So make sure you get this one. I'm going to click it. I'm going to save. And that looks just like our solution file. So, oops, somehow I clicked a box. So we did both of those. That was step 11. On to step 12. Move an object using smart guides. We'll verify the icon you inserted is still selected, and then we're going to move it so that it appears to the right of the bulleted list. Well, it's already to the right of the bulleted list. And then we're going to use smart guides to align to the top of the icon to the top of the bulleted list. Okay, let's move this and let's see what they're talking about. My target looks pretty well aligned right now, to tell you the truth. When I drag it, what are smart guides is probably what you're saying. Do you see? Let me see if I can show you that. I have my mouse button held down as if I am dragging it. And while I continue to have my mouse button held down, you can see this dotted line that goes across the top of my bulleted list. That dotted line is one of these smart guides. It's showing me that. In fact, if I keep moving around, we did this in Word also. Now you can see it's at the bottom or to the, that's to the center. So the more I move it around, you can start to see how it's trying to help me. It's trying to assist me. So I just moved it straight up just a little bit, and I'm going to drop because that style guide tells me that it's, in terms of vertical alignment, it's where they want it to be. So save that. That's a little tricky. We'll see what the automatic grader does for that. But that was step 12. On to step 13. Oh, as I scroll on down, it looks like we're going to insert a chart. And of course, you're great with charts because you have done those in Excel. You also did a chart in Word. And if you recall what it was like doing a chart in Word, it was a little more cumbersome, wasn't it? I will tell you a secret. Since you know Excel, do your charts in Excel, and then copy them and paste them into Word or PowerPoint. These applications were designed to work together. So use all the power of Excel when you're making charts and graphs and all that and tables, and then just paste it into your presentation. You can even make it so that they stay synchronized, so that if you change something in your Excel spreadsheet, it will update in your presentation so that you don't have to worry about copies. Just a little suggestion there. So we're going to add a chart title to slide 8. We're simply going to add calories in and calories out. I'm going to select this, and I'm going to Control C, and I'm going to go ahead and go to slide 8. Oops, here it is, way down here. It's an empty slide. And I'm going to click in this title, and with my cursor flashing, Control V. Now, I am looking at the cursor at the end to make sure there's no extra spaces. I'm looking across at that title to make sure that nothing kind of crazy got copied into that. Sometimes you have to be careful about that. When we upload this, this would be a great experiment. We'll see if the automatic grader gets mad at me for that. You can type it if you'd like, but I thought I'd introduce that to you. Let's go ahead and save that. We have more to do, but let's go ahead and save that. So we navigated to slide 8, and we put that text into the title. Now we're going to insert a chart, and they want us to insert a clustered column chart. It says it's the very first option. And then we have to work with this data. And one of the things they tell us is that, remember in Microsoft Word, it had this prefab data, and we had to replace that data with our actual data. Same thing here. Again, I would do this in Excel, and I would copy and paste. But they're telling us from that prefab data that PowerPoint's going to provide, we don't need Series 3 columns, so we can delete that. We're going to look at that. And then they say, look, go ahead and put this data in. They also give us a kind of interesting warning here. They say, note, when you add Thursday through Saturday, you may see a message box indicating a problem. If so, click OK in the message box to continue adding the information. We'll look at that. Let's move this on over. And here we are on our slide. A really cool thing about a blank slide in this format, this layout. Remember our layouts from Chapter 1? Well, in this layout, which is title and content, it says you can have whatever kind of content you want. And one type of content they have is this chart. So click on that. Well, it actually, by default, is going to a clustered column. Remember, there's bar charts, area charts, every kind of chart you can imagine. But with columns selected, I'm just picking this very first one, and then OK. So here is our chart. Whose chart is this? Because this isn't our data. And in fact, we have this little pop-up window that kind of looks like Excel. If you do not see this, you might remember, and I'm going to go ahead and close this. We can click, see I'm on Chart Design ribbon. I have these extra ribbons because my chart is selected. See the dots? And remember how careful we have to be about clicking things inside the chart. Well, with my chart selected, if I click Select Data, it will pull this window back up. Now, it's made it very large, and I'm just resizing that. Anytime you need that, if you lose this little box, that's what you do. On my other screen, I also received this Select Data Source. You would have seen this pop up on your screen, your single screen. So just click Cancel. Okay, so all we did is if we've lost this little Excel spreadsheet window, we clicked Select Data to make it pop back up. Now I want it to be big enough so that I can see my work in here. And one thing I really want to point out is I want you to see what is selected. Do you see these borders? This is, remember when we did summing and we did formulas in Excel, it would put this border around. So what it's telling me is this is what I'm graphing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete series 3. You see how I selected that? And I'm going to press the delete key on my keyboard. Well, that didn't work as well as I had hoped, right? Because what I can see is that this area is still selected. And in fact, if I move this out of the way, do you see my graph? Here, what is this legend? It says Series 1, Series 2, but there is still a third series. It just doesn't have any values to graph, but it's still part of my graph. I do not like that. So a couple ways that we can handle this. One is we can simply resize this. You see how I'm grabbing that blue dot? I put my mouse right over that blue dot. That's a selection handle, and I'm changing it. And if you could kind of see in the background, my graph just changed. Column 1 has gone away. And my graph shuffled because it doesn't need to hold that space anymore. But I still don't fully trust this because it's still kind of hanging out here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the whole column. I'm putting my mouse on top of column D. I clicked one time. Now I'm right-clicking, and I'm deleting. Now it's gone, and it's not part of my graph. See how that works? We have, let me make sure we're following the steps. We've inserted the chart. We chose a clustered chart. We deleted series 3. And now we have to enter this data. So, oops, I'm going to just pause here for a moment and enter the data. And you can do, let me pull that back up, and you can do the same. Did you get the error message when you typed Thursday and then tabbed over? Excel found a problem with one or more formula references to this worksheet. I think the problem that we're seeing is that we've gone beyond the area that we're going to include in our chart. And so PowerPoint is a little confused by this. They told us to click OK, so we're going to do that. And notice our graph shuffled and includes Thursday. So we're just going to continue entering in the data. I have my data entered in. I'm spot checking it just to make sure the numbers look correct. I don't want to lose points because I have the wrong numbers. It looks accurate to me, and the last part of this instruction is to close this box. Does your chart look like mine? Let's save this. Let's go back to the instructions. We inserted our chart. We deleted that series 3, and we closed that dialog box. On to step 14. This time we're going to slide 9, where we're going to insert a WordArt that says, I know I can do it. This is the instruction that I told you I had to tweak a little bit when I was looking at this exercise in advance, because it did not tell us to resize it. So the proper size seems to be 54 point size. But let's walk through this and I'll guide you through it. I'm going to step 9. On the insert ribbon, I'm going to insert a WordArt. And they are telling me the last option in the last row of this gallery. And this looks just like our solution file, doesn't it? Clicking that, it says your text here. And I clicked inside there. Control A will select all the text in the container. Selects everything in the container, right? Control A. I know I can do it. And an exclamation point. Now, this looks a little better than when I was running through it. And in fact, it does have size 54. So just double check if your font is smaller. Again, you can triple click or Control A. Make sure it's selected and that you see that the point size is 54. Click outside to deselect that so we can look at it. It looks good. Save that. There we are. We finished step 14. On to step 15. This time we're going to add a shape to the slide, and as we look here, it's that smiley face. And we know from our solution file, go down here it is. So here's I know I can do it, and they have a smiley face. I don't like their smiley face. To me that looks a little strange, but that's what they've asked us to do, so we're going to do it, right? So let me move these instructions out of the way, and we're going to insert. And this time we are again looking in illustrations, but we're looking under shapes. All kinds of shapes, arrows and call-outs down here. I mean, I love all these different shapes. Under basic shapes, you see this is where their smiley face is. Click on that, and you have, this is a cross sign. It looks like, or a crosshair, it looks like a plus sign, but what you do is think of the intersection of those two lines as the tip of your mouse. So we know they had that smiley face down in this general area. What you're going to do is you're going to draw diagonally. So you're going to press and hold that mouse button down, move diagonally. You see the smiley face coming out? And release. So all we did, we went to insert, we went to illustrations, and you see my smiley face is recently used now, but we went to basic shapes, we found the smiley. When we clicked on that, we got the crosshair, and what you do is you press and drag diagonally. Now I'm going to delete that because this is our smiley face. So what do they want us to do with the smiley face? They want us to resize it. With it selected, I have a ribbon, shape format, over here on the right. I did pretty well. It's a little greater than 2 inches. They want it exactly 2 inches. So if I select this, I'm going to type 2 and press enter. Did you see my smiley face squish up a little bit? That's because in this case, I'm going to use the size launcher. The lock aspect ratio is not selected. Now they did not tell us to select it, so I'm not going to, but if it had been, it would have resized it to keep it in proportion. So I'm closing that. They want the height at 2, they want the width at 2. So I'm just typing 2 and pressing enter. So perfect square, and our circular smiley face is inside there, and it looks good. So we're going to save this. Back to our instructions. We did this, and we even did that. Now, it says add the shape on the lower right side of the WordArt, so of the WordArt you added. So they didn't tell us specifically to align it to any place. So I think just in this vicinity, again, I'm using the solution file as a general guide. I think this is really helpful for this particular activity. I'm going to check that as done. On to step 16. Oh, we're getting fun now. We're going to add an audio file. They tell us that we're basically just going to insert it like we have inserted other things. We're going to say audio and then audio on my PC. We're, let's see, going to navigate to the location where you save the data files, yes, to insert it. So let's do that. I'm going to move these instructions out of the way. I'm going to go to insert. Now remember, we saved that audio file in our desktop folder for PowerPoint Chapter 2. So across the top, I mean, look, tons of things I can insert. Headers and footers on PowerPoint slides are actually great. You can put your company name in them. You can put the date. All the way across, look at this. I can insert video, and I can insert audio. I can even insert a screen recording. There's a lot of video components that you can do in PowerPoint. In fact, you can create a video using PowerPoint. So I'm clicking on audio. I'm going to get the audio on my PC. I'm going to navigate to my PowerPoint 2 folder. Make sure you're there. There's my closing song. Insert. There it is. Now, this little icon that is displaying there, that tells me that I have sound on this. You can move, I'm going to leave it right there, but you can, here's some tricks, you can move this off of the slide. If you haven't discovered this yet, this is just a work surface. Anything that is out here beyond the slide will not show, but it would still play. So if you don't want that icon there, you might want the icon if you want to be able to click it to start the sound or click it again to stop the sound. Sometimes starting automatically can cause problems. Somebody asks you a question right at the exact moment that the sound starts playing, so you may want to be able to quickly stop it. I have this little bar that comes up here. You see what that will do? That will play this. If I click away, that bar goes away. If I click that again, now these are layered objects. I want to mention that as well. I can easily select that sound icon because it is on top of the text. There are layers here. Be aware of that. So what do they want us to do right now? They just want us to insert that. Let's save that. But that's now going to be part of our presentation. So our presentation just got bigger in terms of the file size. You can imagine emailing it, things like that can become difficult now as this gets larger. On to step 17. Verify the audio file is selected and we want it to play in the background. This is very cool. Now, I want to point this out. We are on the very last slide. So it's going to play for this last slide, and when we exit the presentation, it's going to stop. What if we put this on the first slide? We could have music playing through our whole slideshow presentation, and that can be a fun thing to do. So they're putting it on the last one, but just think of the possibilities of things you can do in PowerPoint. I have my sound icon selected. I have different ribbons. I'm telling you, explore these things, folks. Look at this, audio format, playback format, closed captions. You can say, look, there's just so, you can fade it in and out. You can adjust the volume in case that audio sound is overpowering and you still want to be able to talk to the people that you're presenting to. They want us to play in background, which is over here. But look at this, play across slides. So in other words, if I put this on the first slide and I can start advancing slides, it'll play across there. Loop until stopped. In other words, keep this little sound going until I'm done with my presentation. Rewind after playing. Well, so it will loop in essence. Hide during the show. I may not want this to display when the show is ongoing. Okay, you see some of this right now. There's no style. We are clicking. It's weird to think of audio as having a style, but what they mean is, here's the style, play in the background. When I clicked this, look at the settings that changed. Hide during the show, play across the slides, and loop until stopped. Interesting. Save that. Now, we are at the last step, but we would never want to submit this without knowing what our presentation looks like, right? Don't you want to know? You would like to know. I know you do. I know you want to be done, but I also know that you want to know. We're looking at this in the outline view, which is fine. But remember, this was from view. We could switch back to normal view if we wanted. Remember, when we have our thumbnails selected, Control Home will take us to slide 1. Also, if we press the F5 key, it'll start the presentation from that slide. So I'm going to press the F5 key. There's my slide. Wouldn't it be nice to have music here at the start? Maybe some peaceful waterfall sounds or something soothing. There's our slide. Look how nice it looks. Looks very much like the solution file. You say, oops, somebody had a question. Can you go back? What keys did we learn? Arrow or backspace? To go forward, enter, or mouse click, or arrow, or space bar. Doesn't this look nice? Now, what happens if we go back? Okay, I did backspace. That was an animation. You're going to learn more about that. So basically what I did is I undid the start of that. I went back before that animation started. If I come back, and when I advanced to the next slide, it was actually the end of the presentation, so the sound stopped. Well, we don't like to be at that ending point with a dark screen, right? So here we are. So now we know. Let's make sure we save that. And I'm going to close that because we're at the end of our instructions. How great was that? We finished 17 and we even got to experience that. Now we're going to save it. We've closed it and we're going to upload it. Click here, Control Home, up at the top. Let me drag this. Make sure you get the correct one. This is our PowerPoint for Chapter 2. Be patient because it will take longer to upload. Yes, I'm ready. Do we get the dance going? What do you think? How about that? Yay! 100%. You can do that too. Congratulations. And I hope you learned a lot, and we'll see you in PowerPoint Chapter 3.